Welcome to the Woman Who Left podcast. Thank you, Chloe, for coming on today to have a chat with me on the Woman Who Left podcast. So I suppose we'll just get stuck into it. I normally what I do is get the girls to introduce themselves. So if you want to start, just to give a few bits about yourself and an interesting fact, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so my name is Chloe Brennan. I don't know, I'm not a lightweight strong woman anymore. I'm a light middleweight. I don't know. I can now compete in the 73 kilo class, so I've just moved up, but previous accomplishments are being under 64 England's strongest woman. I came second at the Arnold World Championships and fifth at World's Strongest Woman. I broke set the record on the rogue replica Dunny Stones and the under 64 kilo car walk as well. But really, I'm just me. I used to be a registered nurse and now I own my own business, Holistic Strength Coaching. So that's really exciting. And then I guess the interesting fact, people never know that I was/am a nurse. So I guess that might be interesting for some people.
Yeah, I have that in one of the questions further down the line. We'll get talking about that after.
Right.
From a nurse myself, so it's good to get chatting to another nurse, especially whenever they're like a pro champ, Strongwoman.
Oh yeah, I missed that one off. I won the Arnold.
I had to slip that in there, but anyway, it's going to be one of the first questions we're going to talk about because it's the most recent competition. So you are the Arnold's Pro Under 73 champion. So Arnold, doesn't matter if it's Arnold's UK, it's all still Arnold's, really, isn't it? Like, it doesn't really matter what the doesn't matter. I don't know. Like, there's Arnold UK and Arnold USA and.
The other Arnold is definitely more established.
Right.
There's qualifying routes to it and it's more international, whereas this year with the Arnold Pro UK, it was just British athletes, but they were like the best of the best. So
yeah. So see this, I do this all the time. I'm just like, there's so much going through my head, and I'm like, where to start? And look down at my piece of paper, and I'm like, holy shit, I can't even read my own handwriting. Anyway, the first question was going to be, was this your first Arnold's rodeo? But then I remembered, as you said, that you've already been in the Arnold's. But so a different question then, what was the difference in you entering the Arnold's UK this year to the other Arnold's? What was your mindset like? It's obviously changed, because I remember you in one of your own YouTube videos, you says, you were going in with the attitude that you're going to fucking win this, and that's that. You believed in yourself a wee bit more this year is what you said. So talk a wee bit about that.
Yeah, so I think first off, just the Arnold in general, it's a really important competition for me personally, and people whenever I talk to Rihanna and Lovelace, she's always like, why do you love the Arnold so much? Like, what's your obsession with the Arnold? Because obviously for most people OSG is the pinnacle, but when I started in the sport, the Arnold was kind of the pinnacle of the sport. It was the World Championships, and I used to see like Donna Moore and Jenny Todd going out and winning these shows, and it was my dream just to compete at an Arnold. I used to watch it on the live stream and think, oh my god, if I could just compete there one day, wouldn't that be the best thing ever? Then I qualified to compete there in 2020. So it was just before the we don't need to go into into that.
I get that second word.
So that was my first Arnold, and I tried really hard and I came fourth there. So basically at the Arnold in the USA, you have 2 days of heats and then a final on day 3, which is only 4 people go through to the final day. And I remember me and Shannon Smith now both made finals, and I let out the biggest scream I've ever let out in my life, just because I've made the finals. I literally I was so rubbish in the finals on the events. Like I got 1 rep on the dumbbell and went absolutely crazy because I was so happy just to be there. So I came 4th that year, and then that kind of made me see like, oh, actually I can do really well. And when I went over this year, it was okay, I'm coming to win. And I just missed out to Holly McRae, unfortunately, but she really deserved the win. But then I got the record there. So when I stepped up into this Arnold, I was a bit of rogue invite, so they didn't have enough females to fill the 73 kilo class, unfortunately. So and invited some other people in, and I was fortunate enough to kind of get that space. So as soon as he said, would you do it, I was like, yes, and I'm going to prove to you why I deserve to be there. And yeah, the whole time, I think when I was in the 64s, I just kind of got a bit complacent of like, oh, well, it would be nice to be on the podium, and just kind of accepted that I wasn't the best, which is so damaging if you do want to be the best. So when I went into this competition, it was kind of, I'd just won the under 73s in the UKNS. So it's like, well, I have won a competition, and what a way to start this new weight class. Like, let's keep that going. And day one, I did pretty well, and I knew that my best events were to come. So it was just a case of like, right, let's switch on. And rather than kind of panicking about what the event was or how training had been or what the weight was, it was just a case of, I literally looked at it as, I've got a job to do. I need to get this many reps, or I need to get this time. Let's just go and do it. And it was that simple to me in my head. Like, the stage is there, I've seen what someone else done, I just need to go and do one more. And I'd always thought about, so there seemed to be a lot of hype around me, and I've never been sure why. Like, I'm always just a bit like, it's a bit unusual, and that made me feel a lot of pressure that people expect me to do well in things. But I kind of flipped that on its head, and rather than thinking people expect me to do well, it was people believe I can do well. Yeah. And just changing that little kind of story in my head seemed to make quite a significant difference. So I just rolled with it.
And did you coach yourself with like the mindset, or do you have somebody, obviously you have your partner, he's obviously very supportive, but do you have anybody that is trained in like sports psychology that help you along the way, or is that solely just, you know, yourself and just changing your own attitude and, you know, your own research and stuff into psychology of sports?
Yeah, so I think it's just been experience, I think, and having great people around me. So I've got my coaches, Jenny Todd, who does my kind of training, and then Vicky Masita or Tiny Titan, who does my nutrition. So I'm in pretty much constant contact with both of those. Jenny obviously has a very personal experience of how she competed and how she thought, and she's very much like, there's a job to be done, and just do it. And I've got little quotes on my whiteboard from her that she said to me before Worlds last year, and they're still written up there, things that I just look at every now and then, that really help. And like my osteopath and my sports therapist that I go to, we often just talk through things, and then I think it's just been a build up of that. And then I had like the Stoltmans took me on. It was announced after the Arnold, but it happened beforehand. And just kind of chatting with Luke particularly about things had just given me a bit more confidence in myself, and like he saw things in me that I don't see, and I was just like, okay, it's about time that I really start to see this, because it can impact performance. And I think the Stoltmans are a great example of that. They often talk about mindset and stuff, so it's just been a culmination of a lot of different things.
So then leading up to the Arnold UK, with your prep and that, you know, you obviously you have to have your nutrition right, your training right, and your recovery right. So talk us just really the few weeks even leading up to the competition, what you were doing.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a weird prep. It wasn't typical of what I'd normally do. So this year, with going up a weight class, I'd only planned to do the UKNS and Worlds. So I was kind of in a bit of an off-season phase, and then I got invited to England Strongest Woman that Glenn runs, and the Arnold very close together, which meant it was a bit of a last-minute scramble for Glenn's comp, and then I had to deload before and after that, and then leading into the Arnold as well. So I only actually had like 2 full training weeks for the Arnold. But they were really good events for me. They're events that I'm very, very confident in, which was helpful. So yeah, training was just getting in what we could, managing the intensity. So it got very intense very quick, so I had to kind of cut back on other things and just make sure I was getting out and walking and, you know, stretching, doing really basic things. And in terms of my nutrition, it's changed a lot from when I was an under 64, because I can now eat into competitions. I'm sitting under my weight class, so I don't have to cut weight. And I think when I first moved weight class, I found that really weird, because I'd kind of subconsciously associated cutting weight with being a good athlete and prepping for a comp. So now that I can eat more and like go out for dinner close to competition, now I can relax into it, and it's really nice. And it's actually like having one less event. It's like a stress taken off my shoulders. So the nutrition side of things this time was much easier and much less stressful.
And do you have somebody making your meals, or was that like all your organization? Because like you had it all sitting out. It looked like they were all bought meals, like somebody was actually providing you with them. But was that just you being so super organized? That's probably the nursing prioritizing coming out. Yeah.
No, so I have always done like my own cooking and meals and stuff, but recently I have been working with a meal prep company. So I think I start with them just before the Arnold, maybe. So that was really helpful, because it just means I only really need to make my breakfast and a couple of snacks, and then I've got 2 meals there every day, which makes things so much easier and gives me more time to focus on those other things.
That's good. And recovery, what did you do then for recovery? Because you only had the 2 weeks to prep, so I'm assuming you were just like training, recovering, like, or, you know, what do you do? Like, what does Chloe Brennan do for recovery?
Nothing groundbreaking. I make sure I'm eating right, make sure I'm getting enough sleep. I take the dog out 2 or 3 times a day. So walking is so underestimated as like a recovery tool, because I used to, like, I should have been going out every day for a walk, but sometimes I just didn't want to, so I just wouldn't.
Especially in the cold weather now.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas now, like with the dog, I have to go out, and it does make a real difference. Like I feel much better for it. And then it would just be like foam rolling and stretching, like nothing groundbreaking really. But if you nail those basics, it's easy to keep on top of.
So the competition itself on the day, what did you do? Have you got like a competition? What's the word? Competition.
Like ritual.
Yes, that's the word. Have you got a competition ritual?
I think so when I started Strongwoman, I was really kind of into all of that stuff, and I'd like only wear certain socks or only wear certain leggings, and I was very like into all of that, whereas now I'm much more kind of relaxed. So when I'm kind of getting ready and with everyone else, I'm quite chilled, but immediately before an event, I get like, if you were to look from the outside in, you'd probably just think I was like this rude moody girl, like storming around. But I was much more intense this competition than I usually am. I think I'm like this most of the time. I'm just around people, I want to chat, I want to smile, I want to have a laugh. But it's not always the most productive for competing, and I think it's obviously very important to switch on and off. So as soon as I come off the stage, I'm back like this again. But in those few minutes before, I really try and like visualize what's going to happen. So I'd kind of, where the warm-up area was, we could come out of there and the stage was directly in front of us. So like before a lot of the events, I would just go there, stand there, look at the stage, look at the equipment, kind of see myself doing what I needed to do, go back into the warm-up area, stomp around a bit. And there was some events where I was like almost crying. I was kind of that intense, which was strange, but I was like, just go with it. And it worked. So maybe I'll do it again.
And so what was your goals for each event? And did you obviously you won the competition, so you've met all your goals that you went in with. But did you surprise yourself still whenever you were competing, like during that event?
I think it went as I wanted it to go. So deadlift, I wanted 5. I don't think I'd got 2 at 190 the week before, but it was not a max effort, so I'd never really repped that weight, so I didn't know what to expect. So I got 4 on the deadlift, which was like joint second, so it was good, but I was a bit disappointed because I'd put that number of 5 in my head.
Yeah, sometimes it's a bad thing as well as a good thing, putting the number in your head, because as you say, like if you don't get that number, you're like, ah shit, and then it can change things too during a competition, because you know, if you're inexperienced, but like myself, I know whenever I've given myself numbers and I haven't had it, or I was one away, I was like,
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, so that was the deadlift. Throwing bags, I feel like I underperformed on.
Really? You didn't look like it though.
It was so on the stage, the frames were staggered. So
Oh yes.
Dee's frame was slightly in front of mine, and that really like threw me while I was competing. So I was standing too far away on my third bag, so it didn't quite go far enough. But it's not an excuse, like it's on me. I should have made sure I was closer. So I missed that. I got it back over, and then it just took me a bit longer on the 4th bag than it should have done. So it wasn't like detrimental, but I definitely didn't do what I was capable of on that event. So that was a bit frustrating. And then it was either farmers or yoke next. My goal for those was to win, and I did. So that was good. And the dumbbell, I didn't really know what to expect, so it was just, luckily I was out last for that, so it was just whatever is done before me, I just need to try and at least match it and beat it if I can. So
yeah.
And again, I think I came joint second on that. Stones was to get them all up, and I did get them all up in a good time. So it's one of the best stone runs I've ever done. So I was really, really pleased with that.
And you're quite, you know what, you're actually becoming quite famous for your wee celebratory moment, you know, whenever you win, like just after like the stones and stuff, and then when obviously when you did the dunnies, that you know, the wee hyper jumping around, like super excited. Is that obviously that is you, but is that something that just one time just happened, and then ever since that you've just kind of just went with the flow? Do you know what I mean?
I don't even think about it. I think that like it's just, I don't know, I still, like I said, I don't see anything that special. So when I achieve these things that I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if I did that? And then it happens, I think it just takes over really, and it just happens. So because I genuinely am that kind of excited and shocked, and it's just a buzz. And I always say, like, you can't describe that feeling of achieving something like that. It's like if you could bottle that feeling up and sell it, like, 1, you'd be a millionaire, and 2, there'd be no war on drugs anymore, because it feels so good.
It's so brilliant to watch you. Like, I love watching you competing. It's just I don't even know how to describe it. It just makes me makes me happy and gives me butterflies. That's probably the best way to say it. And there's quite a lot of girls like that. Just that I hang around with that do Strongwoman, and they all say the same thing. Like, so it's you fill us full of energy. Is
Oh, that's really nice.
So what do we see? Where were we? Right. I don't even think we've went past it, but if we have, we can skip on. How prepared do you have to be? How prepared? Is there a such thing as being too prepared for a competition? As like the Arnolds. I thought that was going to be the answer, but
I think you can put yourself in the best position possible for a competition, and you can make sure that you are well rehearsed in events. You can make sure that you're kind of that your weight's coming in right, and that you're hydrated and fueled properly, but anything can happen on the day. So you could, like on my throwing bags, you can make a mistake, and that could have drastically changed placings, and then your whole plan is kind of off, or other people can do better than you expect them to. And so I think you can control your own performance to a point, but you can't control what everyone else is doing, which means you can never, like, I couldn't go into a competition and say I'm definitely gonna win that competition, because you don't know what everyone else is doing. And although we say we shouldn't compare to other people, like when it comes to comp day, it is a competition and you do want to beat other people, that's the point. And yeah, you can't help that. But in the same way that someone doing better than you expect can kind of drop you down, it can happen that actually someone that you thought was definitely going to win can slip up, and that can then put you in a really good position. And sometimes I think it's really difficult to be in that position because you're just like, oh my god, I didn't think I'd be here, what do I do? So yeah, and the environment as well. I think crowds and equipment, it's going to be different every competition you go to. So, but equipment wise, like just a tip for people, if you can get on different pieces of equipment, so if you've got log in a comp and you can get on like 3 different logs beforehand, absolutely do it, because you're going to get better at adapting to equipment, and then that won't be such a big factor on the day.
Yeah, because I noticed with where was I going with this? When you're saying about the different equipment, I when at the start, whenever I started just using the one log in the gym, I noticed even going to a different competition, or even just going on the day of a competition, and you didn't expect the equipment to be so different sometimes. Like there's no, in CrossFit, the female bars, you know, are going to be 15 kilos, you know, the barbells, and then, you know, kind of they're all the exact same, whereas in Strongman, Strongwoman, it's not every equipment's going to be about the exact same, because some of them were so some of them are so specialist made that it's just however that person makes them. It's not the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a good tip. If I had known that when I started, we
can help other people now.
yes, that's it. And part of the reason why I'm doing this as well, why I'm doing these podcasts. So with I don't know if not many people like talking about the money side of things when it comes to Strongwoman, but what did the women get paid for, you know, top 3? Was it just top 3 got paid in each of the categories?
Yeah, so I can probably find it. I'll have a look. So I know first place was 2,400. Then I think it was like 900 maybe for second place. It was quite a drop down into second. But all the female athletes got paid, which was kind of really, really good. It was a significant kind of step forward from what we've had before. I can't find it. I'll be here for ages, but the winner was 2,400. So I think that was a great step, and it's the biggest amount of prize money that's been given in the UK for women, which was amazing. But I think we still got a way to go. Like I think Mitchell Hooper, who won the men's, so we did literally the same competition, won 24,000. So he 10%. got paid 10 times more than I did for literally the same competition. And I am super, super, super grateful for the opportunity that we were given, and I think it's amazing. But when the winner of the men's is getting paid more than the whole prize pot of the female, I think we do have a way to go. And I feel really bad saying that, and I don't want to sound ungrateful, but I think these are the conversations that we need to have if we want to move things forward. So I'll put it out there.
Yeah, like it has come so far. It has come so far from whenever I first remember watching it. I think there was what about, like, I'm watching it 10 years. I remember watching it 10 years, and I don't even think there was even £100 in the cash pot. Not for Arnolds. I mean, just in general, for some of the competition, you'd be lucky you'd have got a protein, a kilo of protein, you know?
A protein shake. Yeah, I remember. I think it might have been England's strongest woman one year, and I think I won like £100, and I was buzzing. I was like, oh my god, like this is amazing. It's the best thing ever. And it is, it's so exciting, and it was really nice to have your work recognized and like financially rewarded. And we don't do it for the money, but we can put on a better show if we can do this more and we can train more, and being financially awarded for things means that we can start to make this our jobs and do more that way. So it's definitely a good thing.
We can cut this part out, but I'm just thinking of a question. I seen Mitch Hooper has that YouTube video he put out, and I seen you commenting under it about I can't remember exactly what it was he said, but I always say it was about Strongwoman. What was it he said again in that?
So he said, what was it? There's much less to be gained by showing women strong men. So that was what he said. And then he spoke about, it's so great though seeing women in the grassroots of the sport and participating, and them seeing that they can do things. And like, yeah, that is great, but what's wrong with seeing females as professional athletes? Why do you only like to see it in the grassroots of the sports? And he has messaged me and opened up a conversation, which I'm hoping we can move forward with. But I do think that's the view of a lot of strong men, and it's obviously like the Stoltman brothers, I think, have done something massive by having their first athlete as a female athlete. I think that goes to show a lot in terms of recognition of what we do. But I think there is a lot of people that still think that the strong woman is just a hobby, but actually I made the point of, we train just as hard as you, we put just as much time in as you, just as much money in as you, so why shouldn't we be recognized in the same way that you are? So yeah, that's what that was about. It just hit a nerve with me. I was like, well, I need to say something.
But that's the thing though, like if you didn't speak up about it, then you're kind of letting them away with it and letting them like think that way. So
yeah,
it's the same. Like the only way I can relate with you is the NHS, the way the pay, that the pay at the minute. If we don't speak up about wanting more pay as a nurse, we're not going to get it.
And the thing you said about there's much less to be gained by showing females in the sport. How many people have said that about football? Like, how many people have said that about female football? And then didn't the female finals at Wembley sell out more than all of the men's matches had in recent times? Like, women just need to be given the platform, and that's starting to happen. And the more we get that platform and the more we show that people do want to watch us and people will pay to watch us, the bigger it can become.
Because a lot of the professional strong women are working full time. They're then training full time. They still have to recover, so they're actually recovering from 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah,
and then going and competing. So I mean, it's a but that's a whole other conversation some other day.
Yeah, that's it.
So we'll move on then. So that's every. One last question from what I've let down for the Arnolds is, out of these three, the nutrition, training, and recovery, which do you prioritize the most?
Training.
Yeah,
like without training you can't do anything, but that's not to say that the others aren't important. Like, they absolutely are. But if I was to like eat right and make sure I was like walking, then I wouldn't get any stronger. So training is definitely the key.
Cool. So then on to the Dunny world record. So it's the Dunny stones, 733 pounds. I'm so crap with pounds. I can't remember what that is in kilos.
I think it's like 333 kilos. So the front one is 188 kilos and the back one is 144.
Cool. I can't even deadlift 100. Oh, actually, I can do 134. So I'm okay. Yeah. I could do one of them. Woo. So what do we see? What was the first question I wanted to ask you about that? So the first thing I noticed whenever you were doing the lift was what made me think about the question was so obviously in the first you done the kind of 3 attempts. The first one was you took the tape off, and then the second one you got it up, and then the third one you came back and you were like a different person. What changed between that wee moment when you pulled the record?
There wasn't much time left, and I knew I had to do it. No, I think it was like I knew I had it in me and I knew I could do it. And it just didn't feel quite right on that first one, and the second one was a bit off, and then the third one I was about to give up, and I looked over at Matt and he was just like, chalk your thumbs, go now. I was like, I think it was, so if I didn't get that lift, we were all going to try again wearing straps. And I think, I don't know, I think just a rush of adrenaline came over me, and kind of, obviously you don't really have time to think in that, it's just actions. Like it's all a bit like and the crowd was getting like so hyped up, I think because I was like so small compared to Becca and Donna, and they were like, if this happens, this could be really cool. So I think it was just in that split second, it was like, hang on, I've really got a moment to prove myself here. And it was just, I'm just really stubborn, and I just like to prove people wrong. So because when beforehand there'd been a lot of people like, oh, you're trying the Dinnies, like, oh, that's cute. So
right.
like, well, let's go then, let's go.
So how did you, so you obviously have Denny's training book out on the website. So where did you get all your information out of, first of all, to lift, to train to lift the stones?
Yeah, so Matt, my partner, had lifted them in oh my god, I want to say 17 or 19, but it's 2017, I think he'd first lifted them. And we'd got chatting with the people who were around the Dinny Stones all the time, and made really good friends with that kind of community. So Matt's been doing them for years, and we're just a bit geeky about them, really, so just talk about it all the time, around people all the time that do it. And I'd trained, so Matt did it 2017, and then I trained to do it in 2019. And people have been asking me for ages before then, like, when are you going to do it, Chloe? I was like, not yet. Like, it needs to be right. And so I'd lifted them in 2019, but I wasn't really so happy with that lift. But it meant that I'd had a lot of training under my belt. Like, I knew the position I needed to be in, I knew what it felt like. And then for the Arnold, I hadn't actually trained at all for it. I'd just seen that other people had been invited to do it. I'd sent an email to Jan Todd, like, can I join in at all? And it was only confirmed I was doing that record attempt the day before we flew out. So I hadn't actually had a chance to do it. But I had been training squats for the competition that I was doing, and I think that really, really helped. So yeah, the kind of advice for training on that has just come from lots of different experienced people and conversations, and then just having a feel and seeing what works.
What is your if you knew what you knew now, what would be your one tip you would give yourself?
I don't know. It's such a weird lift. I think it is more, it's all up here. Like, it's such a mental lift. So I think it would just be believe that you can.
Because it's not quite, it's a deadlift, but it's not quite a deadlift, and then you're the way your feet are, and then you're like half forward and half back, and
it's so twisted and horrible. It's awful. And that's the thing, like, since that's happened, people are like, oh, Dinny Queen, and oh, you love the Dinny State. Like, I literally hate doing it. I hate it. I love the history around it, and I love the magic around it, especially in Scotland, but like actually doing them and training it, I really hate, because it hurts and it's uncomfortable.
So I noticed in the background is that your home gym, or is that your own gym? Did you train from?
So I have the one with the wood in the background, that's our home gym, and then I train in a gym the rest of the time.
So I noticed my husband's absolutely obsessed with like grip stuff because he does judo, so it was actually him noticed it, was me. And he noticed all the grip stuff hanging up on the wall. Did you use all them, or do you make sure they're a part of your training, even in general Strongwoman, every day, or
not really?
When do you whip them out?
That's Matt's stuff. Matt's really into his grip, so he's kind of created that wall, and I have a play every now and then. But I'm very, like, I love being athletic, and I love power and moving, so grip's just a little bit too standstill for me. I do include grip stuff in my training with like dead hangs, farmers, all of those kinds of things, but I don't spend forever on those tools. But it's cool to have. It's fun to have a little play with every now and then.
we just assume because you do the YouTube videos and you obviously never see Matt training with them much. We just assumed that they were yours, and he was like, "Oh my god!"
I mean,
It's so class.
I'll take the credit.
I
It
want all
looks
this.
cool.
He was like, "Where did I get all this stuff?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Matt's made some of it himself.
Oh,
which is
has
quite
he?
cool. Yeah.
Cool. So oh, I see after you pulled the record, what did Jan Todd say to you? Did she, because it looked like she said something to you, but I don't think she said it in the microphone. Did she say anything in particular or
We spoke so much. Like after that, we were speaking a lot all weekend, and she's just very encouraging, and she was like, "This is going to change your life. Like, this is really amazing." Just that she was kind of really proud and excited to see it happen, and we've kept in touch since. So like, she was at the gathering in Scotland this year, and she'd got me a little present that said like superhero Chloe on it, which was really sweet. So it's really cool to kind of because Jan is such a pioneer of her time in women's sport, so it was really cool that she was able to kind of be there, and on the video obviously you can see her reaction to it. It's just quite special, but I can't remember any exact words. It was all a bit of a blur, but she is just so lovely.
Yeah. How did you feel after? So after you pulled the record, you know, some after like some competitions and stuff, you kind of some people kind of go on a wee bit of a down. Like, I mean, because you're because you're such on such a high after you win a competition, pull world records. How were you after? How did you cope? Was it mentally, physically, or did you just get back on the bandwagon and?
Yeah, so it was really weird. So I was actually like, my main priority that weekend was the Arnold competition, and so just before the Dinnies I'd just done my axle clean and press on the main stage. As the girls were warming up for the Dinnies, I ran over and then competed. Just before I was about to do them, found out I'd made the finals for the next day, so I was like obviously on such a high, but I'd hurt my glute and hamstring when I fell back. So initially afterwards my thoughts were, oh shit, I'm in lots of pain and I need to compete tomorrow. And oh my god, what has just happened? My phone is blowing up. I gained like 20,000 followers in a night. It was crazy. Like, it was just nuts. And I think it was just such a strange time, and that whole week it was kind of, I'd just look at Matt, like, because you're in that moment and it's amazing. Then we go back to the Airbnb and I'm sitting there in the morning like full speed of my breakfast, and I'm like, do you know what just happened? Did you see that? Did you know it? Do you know what just happened? And I don't think I had a massive crash down, because I just kind of set myself the next goal, which was moving up the weight class, which I think it was really good actually that I'd made that decision before I flew out, because it was kind of, I already had something to aim for, so I didn't have that big like, what now? But you do to an extent, because it's such a buzz when you're there and people are asking for photos and autographs and all of this stuff, which is just a complete like, oh my god, it's another world. And then your phone's blowing up. But it was like, my phone was blowing up, but then like my day-to-day life was exactly the same. So I'd like get up and still make myself breakfast and still not want to do anything, and like obviously I've got my business, so I still had to run that and still had to pay bills. So it was strange, and like I wasn't kind of depressed or anything like that, but it was like there's this massive buzz, but really life hasn't actually changed. It's just I'm still just a person in a house in Tamworth. Like
and then so you're saying you were moving up to that weight category. What made you want to move up to the weight category? In particular, was there anything? Was you just wanted a new challenge, or you just wanted to eat more nice, lovely food?
Yeah, it was quite a big decision, and I mean, like, a lot of the time when I was at 64 kilos, like I was eating quite a lot, and then I just had to cut down a little bit. But it was that the cuts were getting a little bit harder each time. I was getting that I delivered at Machines Gym in Cheshire. So the guy John that owns that is he's just a nerd, basically. He won't mind me saying that. And he wanted to look at like my muscular density and body fat and stuff. And when it must have been like 3 or 4 weeks out, I was around 15% body fat, which is like low. It's low body fat. It's not optimal for performance. And I always, and when I stood next to the other 64 girls, I was really tall, and I felt like I was limiting my static strength potential by not actually being able to hold enough mass, because if I put the weight on, then I wouldn't be able to make weight. So it was a bit of a gamble of, okay, so there were a few things that I wanted to achieve as a lightweight, but it was just, I could wait it out and it could not happen, or I could try and fulfill my potential at the weight my body wants to be. And it's just health as well. So I was having to water cut. I never did anything like very, very drastic. I didn't have to do some baths before OSG and stuff, but every time you water cut, you're like acutely injuring your kidneys. And I don't want to do that. I want to be healthy. This isn't like, it is important to me, but it's a hobby. It's a hobby that's starting to kind of mean that I can do it kind of as a job as well, but it is a hobby and it's not worth risking my health for. So that was a big factor in it as well. And honestly, it's the best thing I've done in my like Strongwoman career. I
suppose too, even like looking like a wee bit like maybe 5 or 10 years down the line, whether or not you want to have kids or you do want to have kids, but it's, as a woman, it's something else you kind of think about as well. You want to be making sure that you're healthy for just, you know, your own future, and being a mommy, or, you know, whatever tickles your fancy, and your hormones. And I mean, your periods, I don't know if your periods were ever affected being the under 64 because you had to cut weight and stuff, but do you even notice a difference in your periods in your cycle and stuff now?
So when I was competing under 64, I was on hormonal contraceptive, and it just turns out that I came off that and went up a weight class at the same time. So I think that was another factor. I was like, is that holding me back, like being on this artificial hormone? So I have noticed a difference, but I think it's more because stopped taking the pill than because I've put on weight. But that's the thing though, because I was on that contraception, obviously your bleed isn't really a period, so my periods could have stopped and I just wouldn't have really known, which is quite scary.
They don't tell you about them things, about the pills and stuff, whenever you start them when you're younger. They don't tell you about the side effects and that. But so where was I? Then you're obviously, you were saying you were a nurse. So I think I remember you saying you were a children's nurse at one stage, isn't that right? Or are you general and children's?
So I was learning disability nurse.
Oh, learning disability, yes.
I did work with children just before I left nursing.
So what made you change from being a nurse to being a coach and you know, running your own business? Because it is a big difference, and it's a bit of a jump too, from going from security. I'm assuming you were in the NHS working. So you're going from a really secure job to going to being self-employed, which is a little scary. Not so secure.
It was a massive jump, and it was a massive leap. And I mean, I absolutely love the client group that I worked with. So before I was a nurse, I was also a learning like a support worker with people with learning disabilities. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and I'm hoping to add kind of elements to my business that means I can go back into that route. But it was a lot of things. I'd coached before in trampoline, and it was something that I missed and wanted to get back to. The NHS just seemed so thankless. It just got really exhausting. I felt like I was working really hard, and it's just not, I don't know, you don't get much for it. There's always more getting put on your plate. And I was really fortunate that I worked with a lovely team, but we were so under-resourced. I was the only full-time member of staff in the area that we worked in, which was quite a deprived area, so there was a lot of crisis calls, and it was always me that had to deal with it because I was the one that was there. And that's not to say I was on my own with it. There were people around in other teams, and when my team were there, they were great, but it was just so stressful. And I saw an opportunity to do something that I loved that would mean I could train more. So I was having to get up and train at like 5 a.m, which meant like I wasn't sleeping very well because I had to get up so early. And yeah, it was just, there was a lot of different things that contributed to it. And I think like I'm glad I made that decision. And I think once you're a nurse, you're always a nurse, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's always there, and that caring kind of element. But I've tried to really integrate that into my coaching, hence holistic strength coaching. I've done a lot of work in mental health and behaviour, so trying to integrate that in my coaching as well. But yeah, it was a massive decision in terms of like your identity and what you do and the things you do day to day, but also like obviously the financial risk as well. But it was a risk I was clearly willing to take.
Are you still, did you keep your PIN number? Have you kept your PIN number up to date, and you're still doing the minimal hours just to keep registered?
Yeah, so my PIN is up to date, and I've been doing, well, I was doing quite a lot of shifts at Children's Hospice, which I absolutely love, but I haven't done that for a while just because the business has been so busy. So I'm at a point now where I'm like, do I, like, I was speaking to my mum yesterday about it because it's just such a big decision, because I know you can do like return to work and stuff, and I don't know if I'm actually getting enough hours in to to keep it. So I don't know, it's a big decision.
It's only, was it it's only like, hang on, is that 30 hours? That's 30 hours. Oh, I can't even remember off the top of my head. 400 hours in 3 years or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, something like that. So I need to have a think, but whatever happens, whether I keep my PIN or not, in the near future, I absolutely plan to work with a client group that I'm really passionate about, whether that's in a nursing capacity or under my business.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. Is there one thing you miss about it, like the most? Just the clients, like your yeah.
Like,
Usually is.
I love it. Like, and when I worked in adults and children, I just love working with people with learning disabilities. I get so much out of spending time with people, and just the smallest things that you can do that make a massive difference to people's lives. I'd like, and just some people just came out with the funniest things, and like it really warmed my heart. I do miss that.
And have you bumped into any of your clients now, like maybe always say a wee bit older, and they were like, oh my god, it's Chloe Brennan. They know he is the nurse and Strongwoman now.
Yeah, not from my nursing, but there's obviously there's lots of kind of boundaries that have to be kept.
Yes, I know. Yes, obviously.
From when I was a support worker, there's a couple of families that I keep in touch with, which it's really nice, and it's lovely to see how they're getting on as well. So yeah, it's nice to keep in touch a little bit.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. I don't know, I used to do like a wee respite place for kids with autism and stuff, and it was really I should have went into like children's and learning disability. As much as I love the general nursing, it can be a bit mentally just draining.
Yeah,
because adults, they talk back a bit more and they can be a bit more funny and stuff. But anyway, I'll not say too much. I don't want to get myself in trouble. I can also cut this out. But anyway, where was I? So you're coaching holistic oh my god, you've just said it, and I wrote it down. I'm not even saying it right. Holistic
strength coaching.
Strength coaching. I was going to say holistic care coaching. I'm like, no, I told them I said that. It's not even. So, do you do solely female, or do you have a male and female client base?
Male and female. It's quite evenly. I think I have more female probably, but I do have more men than I expected to get. But I like the balance.
And do you do just strong, like, is it just strongman based, or just all strength based? Any kind of strength powerlifting?
Yeah, so it's all strength based. I do have, so like one of my guys competes in BJJ, so we work on his strength and conditioning work to improve his performance on the mats. One of my girls, she does strongman, but she also does roller derby, so we had little bits in there like crossing over to that. And then I have some people who don't want to compete. They just want to strength train and be happy and enjoy training. And I love that as well. One of my guys just kind of enjoys getting stronger, wants to lift some natural stones in Scotland. So I've got a really good kind of variety, but it's definitely more strength based. And I've had people come for fat loss and things like that, and I kind of refer them on to other coaches just because I'm not the best person for that, and strength is really what I'm more interested in. Deliver a better service with.
Your strength is your strength.
Yeah, that's
it. So where can we find you if we're looking? Are you full up at the minute, or are you looking for are you available for new clients, or where can we find you?
So there is a wait list for my one-to-one kind of coaching, but I do program only stuff and I do face-to-face stuff, and I'm also taking bookings for seminars as well around the UK. So you can find me at Holistic Strength Coaching on Instagram, or my website is holisticsc.co.uk.
What do I see? Oh, aye. So yes, the sponsorship of the Stoltmans. I left that to last. We'll get talking about it. So you were saying that you, like, Arnolds wasn't the first time you knew that you were going to get sponsored by the Stoltmans. So how did that come about?
It was a few months ago. So yeah, it was like after the Arnolds and everything had happened. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I just got a message from Luke on Instagram. Like, I can't even remember exactly what he said, but I was like, oh, this is interesting. And just kind of about how they were looking to grow their brand, and they were interested in including me in that. And then we jumped on a call and kind of had a lot of back and forths about how they could support me and how I can be part of brand Stoltman. And yeah, it was just really, really exciting. I think I couldn't choose two better strongmen to be aligned with. I think our values are very kind of in sync. We believe a lot of the same things, and it's been really nice in that obviously a lot of brand partnerships, it's just kind of you're definitely just a way of marketing, and yeah, we'll send you this if that's the end of it. Whereas I actually feel like I've gotten to know them quite well, and we've got a real good working relationship, which is lovely.
Cool. In what way do they help you with a sponsorship?
Yes,
Yeah.
they financially sponsor me, so I get paid from them each month, and then if I do well in competitions, I get a bit more, which
cool.
is amazing. And I think it's a massive step forward again in this sport. There's not many brands that are willing to pay female athletes, so you can probably hear my dog in the background.
My dog's trying to knock over my laptop. Go to bed. Go to bed. Go to bed.
Yeah. So yeah, that was pretty huge and very, very cool, and I'm very grateful for that support, really.
Cool. I thought I had more, but you kind of, I mean, a sponsorship is a sponsorship at the end of the day too. You know, you either get paid for it, or you're given stuff to, as you say, to.
Yeah, that's it. But I think as well as that, I think obviously the financial thing is massive, but I think just being part of that brand is really helpful for me and my brand. And Luke's been really good at kind of chatting through his experiences with, because that is a part of being an athlete now, like that whole online presence. And if I want to train harder, then I need to bring in income from other places to be able to do that. So he's been really, really helpful in kind of giving me advice of when he started and what kind of things to ask from brands and what to look out for. So it's not just that they're sponsoring me in terms of that, but they're giving me a lot of like support in terms of just sharing their experiences with me, which has been valuable.
That's cool. And then you're also a Chloe size too, and girl.
I am. That was before the Arnold as well. Like, it's all just been so crazy. It's like they contacted me and were like, we're doing this thing. So that was really cool. And it's just been so surreal. Like I said at the start, it has just been a bit like I've had a lot of opportunities come my way. And sometimes it's quite difficult to kind of process it and accept it. Like I remember, like, because the Stoltman and girl thing all came about at the same time, and I was like at my mum's house crying. So I was just like, well, I don't know what to do. Like I felt like a bit of a fraud. But I go in like peaks and troughs of, okay, you know, like I have earned it, and then being like, wow, what have I done to deserve this? But I think I've just got to take it as it comes, because these kind of things, like, they're not guaranteed and they don't last forever. So I just need to make the most of it.
Yeah. And I actually love the way I don't even ever know if I'm saying it right. Girl.
Just girl, yeah.
Girl. It's because of the all the R's. Jesus, I think I've never been diagnosed with dyslexia, but I do think I'm dyslexic, and I just see all the R's. I'm like, girl. What was I going to say now? Jesus. Oh yes, I love the way they do the like the female, like sizing from a female, or like a body shape rather than a size, because a size 12 in Primark and a size 12 in New Look and a size 12 somewhere else is like never the same size. I could be a size I could be a size 20 in one place and a 26 in another.
That's it. And I think it's that so many women associate a size with a value, and like this size is good and this size is bad, whereas actually if you're the size of an athlete, like that's just cool, isn't it? Like, oh, I'm like them, and that's pretty cool.
And they don't like most high street places don't do sizing for athletes, because we're obviously going to have broader shoulders and different shape. Like my shoulders, my ass, my legs have gotten bigger. I can't fit. I can't fit into nothing in nearly any shop I go to. So I literally live in leggings.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's nice to know that there's other places that you can go to buy clothes for, what I like to call big, strong, beautiful women.
Yes.
So yes, you've got hang on, was that everything? Yeah, that was everything there. So you've gotten is it less than 4 weeks now? 4 weeks to OSG?
Yeah, I think I fly in 3 weeks and compete in 4, so it's quite soon.
It wasn't long flying around, because I was saying to Donna, and I was all last week, I was like, it's like less than 6 weeks, you know, Donna, and she was like, fuck up, I don't want to know.
I know, it comes from
curse. Donna doesn't curse, but you know what I mean. She does. But yeah, so how are you feeling about it? Is this prep's obviously different to Arnold's, because you knew oh my god, the caffeine's burning off. The Arnolds one, you had 2 weeks to prep, so you've obviously got quite longer for OSG. So how is that prep going then?
It's going really well. There's some events that are more difficult and proving quite challenging, but some that I'm really confident in. But yeah, I think it's going to be good fun. And I've gone from, like, my expectations of myself have changed throughout the prep as well. Like when I first heard the announce, I was like, oh, like it would be really nice if I could make the finals in any weight class. That would be really good. But now I'm like, no, like I will make the finals, and this is the result I want to get, and kind of a bit more confident in what I can do. So no, I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it will be really good to see where I'm at internationally with the girls in this new weight class. I'm excited, and just to chat to them as well. Like, I know the 64 girls quite well, so it'll be good to be in with a new group of girls and just get to know them.
Yeah, and the 73 category's not been around too long either, hasn't it? Is this the first 73 in OSG?
Second.
So it was the second.
Yeah, it was there last year, was the first year. So it's growing, and I think over the next few years it will become quite a popular weight class, because I think you'll have a lot of the girls like me and their lightweights will start coming up, and then there's a lot of under 82s that sit in the 70 kilo range. So I think a few of them will drop down, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it evolves.
Now all they need to do as well is get like a category in between the over 80, like 82s, the opens.
Yeah, I think there's like, a 91 in talks.
Yeah, but even that again, like there's still like even 91 to some of the open like weights is still a big gap. But I'd say definitely 91s will definitely help. It's like the same with all female sports though. The weight jump is so, like, I think even judo it's 82 and then it's over 100s or something like that there, but that's like from anywhere from 100 to some girls like 130 140 kilos as well, and that too. But
I think that's why I didn't go up earlier, because 64 to 82 was just such a big jump. I was like, I can't put on 20 kilos. Like, that's hard.
It's hard. Like I mean, dropping weight is hard enough, and then having to put on weight. It's because it's eating the right thing as well, isn't it? Like it's not just filling yourself full of McDonald's and chippies and pizzas. Although pizzas are on my meal plan and they're good for you too. But
We love a pizza.
oh yeah, I'm thinking I've got a pizza coming on later on. Um, so yeah, it's just a bit much sometimes. Put yourself like you're already under enough pressure without having to think about that too. So that you actually answered all the questions for OSG pretty much apart from what the event you're most looking forward to. Have you got one in particular you're most looking forward to doing?
I was gonna say car walk, like I am excited for that, but stones. I feel like I've really improved stones this year, so it'll be good to have a like really heavy run and see how it goes.
Do you prefer having the competition over 2 days or would you prefer it in one
Yeah.
day? You like it over 2 days?
Yeah, I really like it over several days. It seems to suit me really well, and it kind of allows you to. I'm quite good at switching on and switching off, so having that like downtime in between just allows me to like rest, recover, and go back kind of a fresh day. So it takes some getting used to. Like the first time I was like, what is this? But then I did like obviously UKNS was a 1 day comp recently, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so hard.
Can be so quick paced, can't it? Did you go to the Stoltman stall at Arnolds? Were you at that the stall?
No,
or
so
from when I the photo at the end.
Yeah, like I popped to see them, but I wasn't on there because I was competing the 2 days,
Okay.
and then the Sunday, I was with my mum at the wedding show. It was at the same place. Yeah, so I was with my mum on the Sunday, so I didn't stand on there, but maybe next year.
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe next year there might actually be like a Strongwoman stall. Wouldn't that be cool as well?
Watch this space.
Yeah. Right. Chloe, I think that's all the questions. You have been an absolute gem coming on for me. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we go off?
I don't think so. Just thank you for having me. It's been really nice.
Oh, thank you for finding the time to come on. It's been great talking to you. I thought I was going to be nervous talking to you.
But there's no need to.
It wasn't and I'm sure like you were saying about you live your normal life whereas everyone else just think you're famous to everybody else, that kind of way. So it's like I know you'd be cringing, but it's I don't know, it's just yeah. I don't really know how to do it.
It's so weird. I find it so strange. I think because I still see people above me and I'm like, oh wow, like it's really weird to be seen as one of those people, but yeah, I'm very approachable. I'd like to think.
That's great. So yeah, thank you for coming on, and maybe get you on again after OSG when you come back with your trophy.
No pressure. No, you pressure. Believe I can, you don't
pressure.
Expect me to.
Yeah, so I can't even remember now if I said anyway. Thank you again.
You're very welcome.
I've